Please, sir.
Thank you. Good morning to all. Respected prosecutors, yesterday we have gone through section 7 word to word and concept wise we have observed section 7. Occasion and effect is the base of section 7. And after observation that section, it is necessary to go through section 159 because section 159 comes in the ambit of one of the illustration given below section 7. So what section 157 of CRPC says? Section 157 of CRPC comes in the ambit of chapter 12 of CRPC, that is for investigation, and it is mentioned here. If from information received or otherwise, an officer in charge of a police station has reason to suspect the commission of an offence, which he is empowered under section 156 to investigate, he shall forthwith send a report of the same to a magistrate empowered to take cognizance of such offence upon a police report, and shall proceed in person, or shall depute one of his subordinate officer not being below such rank as the state government may, by general or special order prescribed in this behalf. Now this line is significant so far as section 7 is concerned. To proceed to the spot, to investigate the facts and circumstances of the case, and if necessary to take measures for the discovery and arrest of the offender. So for an arrest of the offender, quite different aspect which comes in the ambit of section 41 of CRPC. But these lines, to proceed to the spot, to investigate the facts and circumstances of the case, and if necessary to take measures for the discovery and arrest of the offender. So far as these lines are concerned, I am inviting your attention on illustrations given below section 7 of Indian Penal Code. There are two illustrations given below this section. Illustration B is connected with section 157 of CRPC. It is mentioned in this illustration. The question is whether A murdered B. Marks on the ground produced by a struggle at or near the place where the murder was committed are relevant facts. So we know Panchanama day in and day out. We are observing Panchanamas, we are examining Panch witnesses, we are examining investigating officer to that regard. So also we are examining Panch witnesses of Panchanama, Memorandum Panchanama, Discovery Panchanama, which comes in the ambit of section 27 of the Indian Evidence Act. So the Panchanama under which the spot is mentioned, the Panchanama under which the place is mentioned, the Panchanama under which any situation is mentioned, all Panchanamas are comes in the ambit of section 7, because the situation which is fixed by the Panchanama, which is mentioned in the Panchanama, occurred due to an offense, and because of occasion that situation was occurred, hence in the course of investigation that situation is fixed under the Panchanama, that is the memorandum of the situation. And as we are observing two words for section 7, occasion, cause or effect. The Panchanama comes in the ambit of occasion. It is a cause, both occasion, cause or effect. Occasionally, because as occasion was there, the marks on the ground, and effect also, effect of the incident, and hence effect seems from the situation of the spot. So hence spot Panchanama is necessary. And needless to say that day in and day out we are observing various Panchanamas and we are examining witnesses on the Panchanamas. Now so far as illustration A is concerned of section 7, the question is whether A robbed B. The fact that shortly before the robbery, B went to a fair with money in his possession, and that he showed it or mention the fact that he had it to third person are relevant. Now see what this illustration says and how this illustration is connected with the three words: occasion, cause, or effect. This comes in the ambit of occasion, cause, or effect. How? The question is whether A robbed B, whether A committed robbery against B. The facts that shortly before the robbery, B went to a fair. So occasionally, as fair was there, he went there. B went to a fair with money in his possession. Not only this, and he had showed it. He showed the money, or mentioned the fact that he had it to third persons are relevant. So by occasion he was there, he showed the money, or he expressed that he had the money to third persons and he was robbed. So that was the effect. Robbery is the effect of showing of money in the fair, and occasionally, as there was fair, he was there. Example number C. The question is whether A poisoned B. Yesterday, I just discussed section 45 and section 46 of Indian Evidence Act. Experts comes in the ambit of those sections. So far as poison is concerned, medical jurisprudence and toxicology, clause C, illustration C of section 7. The question is whether A poisoned B. The state of B's health before the symptoms ascribed, understand, before the symptoms ascribed to poison, and habits of B known to A, which afforded an opportunity for the administration of poison, are relevant. He knows his habits. According to his habits, he administered or was to be done the poisonous effect. Poison was used prior to consuming poison effects and after consuming poison effects. So as effect is one of the part of section 7. So far as effects are concerned, this illustration is necessary to read under section 7. So as there are three illustrations we have gone through, so also we have gone through section 157 of CRPC so far as procedural aspect is concerned, and yesterday we have gone through minutely each and every word of section 7 of the Indian Evidence Act. In fact, section 7 of Indian Evidence Act is the part of section 6 of Indian Evidence Act. In fact, section 7 of Indian Evidence Act is the derivative of section 6 of Indian Evidence Act, because once again section 6 of Indian Evidence Act, so far as heading is concerned, forming part of same transaction. Forming part of same transaction. And one more aspect, whether they occurred at the same time and place or different times and places. Whether the situation occurred same time and place or whether they occurred at different times and places. Apart from that, the situation comes in the ambit of section 7 also. Cause, effect, and occasion. So occasion may comes in the ambit of section 6, cause may comes, as well as effect may comes in the ambit of section 6. Section 6 is the best so far as section 7, 8, 9, 10 is concerned. Now we are observing one of these significant sections, section 8. Motive, preparation, and previous conduct or subsequent conduct. There are three parts of this heading. First, motive, then preparation, and then conduct. There are two parts of conduct: previous conduct and subsequent conduct. Section 8 says, any fact is relevant which shows or constitutes. No, see, two words. Which shows, directly shows, or constitutes the situation gathered and shows, which constitutes. Any fact is relevant which shows or constitutes a motive or preparation for any fact in issue or relevant fact. So see the construction of section 6, construction of section 7, as well as section 8. Every time the situations which are mentioned in these sections are connected with either relevant fact or facts in issue, or at the same time with both of them. So time and again and again, we have to go through the definitions, relevancy and facts in issue. And for these two definitions, I know that I am repeating the same point, but it is my habit to repeat it. Whenever the point is significant, I will repeat it. I will not proceed further unless I will repeat, because I know the importance of repetition. To repeat it, to read it, to learn again and again, develop ourselves, and hence it is my endeavor for myself as well as all my brothers and sisters also. Any fact is relevant which shows or constitutes a motive or preparation of for any fact in issue or relevant fact. So far as first paragraph is concerned, motive or preparation. Motive for the facts in issue, motive relevant to the relevant facts, preparation for the facts in issue, and preparation relevant with relevant facts. Second paragraph of this section. Now conduct. The conduct of any party. So far as civil is concerned, plaintiff and defendant. Necessary parties are one of the significant aspects so far as civil procedure code is concerned. Court may add parties. So far as criminal procedure concerned, if it's a private or if it's a complaint, then complainant and accused. And if it's a state case, then we know that the state government against the prosecution. These are the parties. Now see, the conduct of any party. The conduct of any agent to any party. So the conduct of party, conduct of agent of that party, such party. To any suit or proceeding. So far as civil is concerned, to any suit or proceeding. Now see, in reference to such suit or proceeding, conduct not generally. General conduct is not expected here. Specific conduct. And for such specification, it is necessary to go through section 14 of the Indian Evidence Act. Specific conduct. After observation, a specific person, his conduct changes. Normally, he is okay, but after observing a specific situation, specific person, specific thing, conduct change. Why? It depends on the antecedents. Same is here. I am reading this line once again. The conduct of any party or of any agent to any party to any suit or proceeding in reference to such suit or proceeding. Conduct in reference to such suit or proceeding, or in reference to any fact in issue therein or relevant thereto. Please see. Conduct is relevant in reference to any fact in issue therein. Conduct is relevant for the relevant facts thereto. त्या ठिकाणी असणार आहे, त्या केसमध्ये असणार आहे. This part once again. The conduct of any party or of any agent to any party to any suit or proceeding in reference to such suit or proceeding, or in reference to any fact in issue therein or relevant thereto. Please understand the meaning therein, relevant thereto, for specification. Sub part of this section, the conduct of any person. Now, so far as criminal side is concerned, criminal law is concerned, criminal cases are concerned, this part is significant. The conduct of any person, an offense against whom is the subject of any proceeding. Conduct of accused. The conduct of any person an offense against whom is the subject of any proceeding is relevant. Further lines are significant if such conduct influences or is influenced by any fact in issue or relevant fact. Last line having substance, significance. Substance I have no doubt. Significance. If such conduct influences or is influenced by any fact in issue or relevant fact, and whether it was previous or subsequent thereto, though previous conduct or though subsequent conduct, if the conduct influences or is influenced, the conduct influences or the conduct is influenced by any fact in issue or relevant fact, whether the conduct is either previous or subsequent in nature. We will observe this part once again, because this part is significant one. The conduct of any party or of any agent to any party to any suit or proceeding in reference to such suit or proceeding, or in reference to any fact in issue therein or relevant thereto, first part. Second part, the conduct of any person, an offense against whom is the subject of any proceeding, are relevant. Now this part I am reading is applicable to both the parts. Is relevant if such conduct influences or is influenced by any fact in issue or relevant fact, and whether it was previous or subsequent thereto. It may previous conduct, it may subsequent conduct. Explanation. This explanation is very significant. Now I have used word very significant. Why it is very significant? Please see. It is my request to all the participants, please apply full mind on explanation. The word conduct in this section does not include statements. Statement. Orally stating. The word conduct in this section does not include statements. Though it is so, it is mentioned in this explanation. There is an exception. Unless those statements accompany and explain acts. Now this line is necessary to be discussed. Unless those statements. What type of statements? Those statements are accompany and explain acts. If the statement is accompany with an act, if the statement explain an act, such statements are also comes in the ambit of conduct, because these statements are either accompany or explain or accompany and explain acts. These are not mere statements. These are along with, accompany, explaining acts, and hence such type of statements comes in the ambit of section 8. But other statements, those who are not accompany or those who are not explaining acts, are not comes in the ambit of section 8. I am reading this explanation once again. The word conduct in this section does not include statements. Please see what this line says. The word conduct in this section does not include statements unless those statements accompany and explain acts other than statements. Unless those statements accompany and explain acts. But there are three parts of this explanation. But this explanation is not to affect the relevancy of statements under any other section of this act. If statements are relevant and if it is mentioned by any of the provision of Indian Evidence Act, then such statement is necessary to take into consideration. Otherwise, mere statement is not conduct. Statement must be accompany and explain acts. Those statements comes in the ambit of section 8. At this juncture, I want to invite your attention on section 351 of Indian Penal Code. It's a definition of assault. Definition of assault is given in section 351 of Indian Penal Code. And its explanation. Assault. Whoever makes any gesture or any preparation intending or knowing it to be likely that such gesture or preparation will cause any person present to apprehend that he who makes the gesture or preparation is about to use criminal force to that person is said to commit an assault. Now see the explanation below this definition, section 351 of IPC. Mere words do not amount to an assault, but the words which a person uses may give to his gestures or preparations such a meaning as to make those gestures or preparations amount to an assault. Similar situation. There are two explanations given below section 8. We are at explanation first. At the same time, it is necessary to go through the explanation of section 351, that is the definition of assault under Indian Penal Code. I am reading this explanation once again. Mere words do not amount to an assault, but the words which a person uses may give his gestures or preparations such a meaning as to make those gestures or preparations amount to an assault. So what is affirmative and what is negative? Same situation mentioned in the explanation of section 8. Section 8, first explanation. The word conduct in this section does not include statement unless those statements accompany and explain acts other than statements. Now we are observing statements and conduct, mix statements and conduct, along with conduct, accompany and explain acts. Now giving of or expressing abusive words. So while expressive abusing word, nobody can still stand as a statue and give abusive words. While exchanging of abusive words, some gestures are expected. Though the words are comes in the ambit of section 504, or though the words are comes in the ambit of section 294 of IPC, though the words comes in the ambit of section 509 of IPC, because 509 of IPC is gesture word is also mentioned in section 509 of IPC. But so far as section 294 is concerned, obscene words, obscene songs, and section 504 of IPC, insulting words. So while uttering insulting words, while uttering obscene words, or while uttering the words, those comes in the ambit of outraging of modesty of a woman under section 509 of IPC. For all these situations, some gestures are expected but natural. Now the words are statements. Though the words are statements, but those words are accompany and explain acts. So right now I'm discussing with you so I may maintain this posture. I may maintain this posture, but better to do something. And when I am expressing my thoughts, so obviously my hands are like this, it's going on. My statements along with my gestures, same situation is there. The word conduct in this section does not include statements unless those statements accompany and explain acts other than statements, but this explanation is not to affect the relevancy of statements under any other section of this act. Last line of this explanation is material, but this explanation, though it is mentioned in this explanation is not to affect the relevancy of statements under any other section of this act. And for example, section 156 and section 157. So far, as well as section 155 of Indian Evidence Act. Statements in writing, section 145. But statements, those are not in writing. Use of such statements under 157, then 156 for corroboration, contradiction, for corroboration, and section 155 for impeaching credit of witness. So please go through these three sections for statements, accompany and explain acts. Second explanation which is given below this section. Second explanation. When the conduct of any person is relevant, any statement made to him or any statement made his presence and hearing which affects such conduct is relevant. So far as criminal cases are concerned, this explanation having significance. What is mentioned in this explanation? When the conduct of any person is relevant, any statement made to such person, any statement made to him, either made to him or in his presence, not only in his presence and hearing, understand? Statement made in his presence and hearing, and by this statement which affects such conduct is relevant. Which affects such conduct is relevant. Now, as there are illustrations given below this section, so far as the second explanation is concerned, just I discussed with you. To elaborate the situation given by explanation 2, illustration F of this section. The question is whether A robbed B. The fact that after B was robbed, C said in A's presence, the police are coming to look for the man who robbed B, and that immediately afterwards A ran away, are relevant. Illustration for second explanation. Illustration G, next. The question is whether A owes B rupees 10,000. The fact that A asked C to lend him money and that D said to C in A's presence and hearing, I advise you not to trust A, for he owes B rupees 10,000. And that A went away without making any answer are relevant facts. If there was any situation with A then certainly he may say about it. But without stating anything, without saying anything, if he went away, why he went away? Keeping mum is also part of conduct, and why he went away without saying anything, that is also relevant, because the situation mentioned in this section was there. That's why he went away without stating any word. For section 8, I am sharing with you one significant judgment. Rammi alias Rameshwar versus State of MP. I know that we are using this judgment for re-examination. For re-examination, usually we are using this section. We are using this judgment. Rammi alias Rameshwar versus State of Madhya Pradesh. At the same time, this judgment is important to understand the scope of section 8 also. I am reading significant part of this judgment. The judgment is reported in AIR 1999 Supreme Court, page number 3544. And I know that every prosecutor knows this judgment well to use for re-examination. Re-examination, which comes in the ambit of section 138, direction of re-examination, or explanation of the facts arose from the questions asked by the other party to the witness. The post-event conduct of a witness varies from person to person. It cannot be cast iron reaction to be followed as a model of everyone witnessing such event. Different persons would react differently on seeing any violence, and their behavior and conduct would therefore be different. Therefore, the conduct of a person who witnesses the murderous attack in not informing the members of the family of the deceased, or not bringing this matter to the notice of the police, cannot be said to be abnormal, because it depends on person to person, his mental situation, his situation to understand these circumstances, murderous situation. Then I am sharing with you one more judgment. Gudu Ram versus State of Himachal Pradesh. This judgment is reported in 2013, All MR Criminal, page number 315. The judgment is of Honorable Supreme Court. It is mentioned in the judgment: conduct of accused, leaving the village where incident took place and going to his village on the night of incident, is relevant under section 8 of Indian Evidence Act. This is the sum and substance of the judgment: conduct of accused, leaving the village. Why he leave the village? If any urgent work he have, then he may prove it, but otherwise conduct will affect. As we are observing conduct, at the same time we have to go through some provisions under Indian Penal Code as well as under CRPC. So far as Indian Penal Code is concerned, necessary to go through 2 sections. Now friends, we are dealing with cases arising out of section 324 and section 326. So also section 323 and section 325. Now see, section 319 is for hurt, section 320 grievous hurt, section 323, section 324, 325, 326. At the same time, I am inviting your attention on the definition voluntarily, which is given in section 39 of Indian Penal Code voluntarily. And I will request to you that please go through the illustration given below. Definition voluntarily. What mean by voluntarily? Please come with me for the definition voluntarily. I am reading this section. A person is said to cause an effect voluntarily when he causes it by means whereby he intended to cause it, or by means which at the time of employing those means he knew or had reason to believe to be likely to cause it. I am reading it once again. A person is said to cause an effect voluntarily when he causes it by means whereby he intended to cause it. So caused with intention. Or by means which at the time of employing those means he knew, means knowledge, or had reason to believe to be likely to cause it. Now the term reason to believe is mentioned here. So what mean by reason to believe? Section 26 of Indian Penal Code is the definition of reason to believe. Reason to believe means a person is said to do a thing fraudulently. Sorry, a person is said to have reason to believe a thing if he has sufficient cause to believe that thing, but not otherwise. Reason to believe, section 26 of Indian Penal Code. A person is said to have reason to believe a thing if he has sufficient cause to believe that thing, but not otherwise. Sufficient cause to believe that thing, but not otherwise. What is the difference in between reason to believe and knowledge? What is the difference in between reason to believe and knowledge, and whether reason to believe and knowledge is the one fact, or there is a difference in between these two concepts? It is my request, please go through 2004 All MR Criminal, page number 2566. It's a judgment of Honorable Supreme Court in which knowledge and reason to believe, these two terms are discussed. Illustration given below section 39, that is voluntarily. What means by voluntarily? Prior to proceed further with these two sections of IPC, section 334 and section 335, because these sections are necessary to discuss as we are discussing section 8 of Indian Evidence Act, and prior to that it is necessary to go through the definition of voluntarily, and to understand the definition of voluntarily it is necessary to read illustration which is given below this definition. So I am reading the illustration below section 39 of Indian Penal Code. A sets fire by night to an inhabited house in a large town for the purpose of facilitating a robbery, and thus causes the death of a person. Now see what is mentioned in this line. I am reading it once again. A sets fire by night to an inhabited house in a large town for the purpose of facilitating a robbery, and thus causes death of the person. His intention was robbery, but in the course of activities, death of a person was caused. Here, A may not have intended to cause death and may even be sorry that death has been caused by his act. Yet, if he knew that he was likely to cause death, he he has caused death voluntarily. This is the importance of voluntarily, and while reading Indian Penal Code, for every section, for each and every penal provision, each and every definition, if I am not wrong, but each and every, as far as whoever voluntarily starts, legal provisions are starts, the penal provisions are starts, or the definitions are starts, whoever voluntarily. So what mean by voluntarily? Section 39 and the illustration given below section 39, which is very significant. Knowledge, intention, reason to believe, these are material concepts, means rea. So unless and until these situations are there, no question of offense. Knowledge, intention, and for that purpose it is necessary to go through section 299, culpable homicide, definition of culpable homicide. Please read it. Definition of culpable homicide. There are three parts of this definition. Intention of murder, intention of such bodily injury as is likely to cause murder, as is likely to cause death, intention of death, intention of such bodily injury as is likely to cause death, and knowledge that the person may die. These are the three situations mentioned in section 299 of Indian Penal Code. That is the definition of culpable homicide. Please go through that definition also. In fact, we are discussing section 334 and section 335 of the Indian Penal Code. And prior to this discussion, I feel that it is necessary to go through the word voluntarily. Hence, we observed that definition. And meanwhile, I have mentioned that section 323, section 324, section 325, and section 326. Now, section 323 of Indian Penal Code. We are dealing with these four sections in our daily practice. 323. Now I am reading the opening line. Whoever, comma, except in the case provided for section 334. So this is section 334 is an exception to section 323. Section 324 of IPC. Whoever except in the case provided for by section 334. Section 334 is exception for section 324 of IPC. Section 325. Whoever except in case provided for section 335. Section 335 is the exception for section 325 and section 326 of IPC. Whoever except in the case provided for by section 335. 335 section is the exception for section 326. So what is the exact exception? Exception to 223, 323, 324, 325 and 326 by these two sections. Sections means 334 of IPC and section 335 of IPC. Hence, it is necessary to go through these two sections. I know that we are discussing section 8 of Indian Evidence Act. Section 334 of IPC. Now, heading of this section, voluntarily causing hurt on provocation. Whoever voluntarily causes hurt on grave and sudden provocation, if he neither intends nor knows himself to be likely to cause hurt to any person other than the person who gave the provocation, shall be punished with imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 1 month or with fine which may extend to 500 rupees or with both. If the situation comes in the ambit of section 334, and though there is an offense of section 324, 324 offense, but the situation comes in the ambit of section 334, then see the sentence punished with imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 1 month, or with fine which may extend to 500 rupees, or with both. But what is exactly mentioned in this section? Whoever voluntarily causes hurt is voluntarily, but on grave and sudden provocation. Though the hurt is voluntarily, but by grave and sudden provocation. Grave and sudden provocation is one of the exceptions as mentioned in section 76 to 106 of IPC. Voluntarily causing grievous hurt on grave and sudden provocation if he neither intends nor knows himself to be likely to cause hurt to any person other than the person who gave the provocation. Other than the person who gave the provocation. Section 335. Now section 334 hurt and section 335 grievous hurt. Whoever voluntarily causes grievous hurt on grave and sudden provocation if he neither intends nor knows himself to be likely to cause grievous hurt to any person other than the person who gave the provocation shall be punished with so and so actions. Explanation 2 of section 8 is attached with section 334 and section 335 of Indian Penal Code, and that's why we gone through these two provisions. Once again we will go through exception 2. Exception 2. When the conduct of any person is relevant, any statement made to him, grave and sudden provocation. Words are used for grave and sudden provocation. When the conduct of any person is relevant, any statement made to him or in his presence and hearing which affects such conduct is relevant. So it is necessary to go through those sections, though it seems that they are far away or remote, but as they having connection with this explanation, please go through those sections. Now, so far as conduct is concerned, we know well section 280 of CRPC, demeanor, remarks respecting demeanor of witness. Demeanor comes in the ambit of section 8. Demeanor, in fact, demeanor is a conduct. Remarks respecting demeanor of witness: when a presiding judge or magistrate has recorded his evidence, recorded the evidence of a witness, he shall also record such remarks, if any, as he thinks material respecting the demeanor of such witness whilst under examination. And friends, we know that demeanor also one of the part of matters before it. When we observe three definitions: proved, disproved, not proved. So far as proved and disproved is concerned, it is mentioned matters before it, and while discussing matters before it, we have gone through section 280 of CRPC, as well as it is necessary to read section 280 of CRPC while discussing section 8 of Indian Evidence Act. Now I want to share one more judgment. Bandu, son of Kaudu Thakre versus State of Maharashtra. 1996, Criminal Law Journal, page number 285. This judgment is of Honorable Bombay High Court. If a statement or a disclosure is made by the ravished girl either to the member of her family or others, it is an evidence of conduct as admissible as the corroboration by section 8, illustration J of the Indian Evidence Act and section 157 of corroboration by section 8, illustration J of Indian Evidence Act and section 157 of that act. Now, what mean by section 157? Indian Evidence Act, section 157. Corroboration. Former statements of witness may be proved to corroborate latter testimony as to same fact. Former statements, either written or oral. So far as section 145 is concerned, only written. But so far as 157 is concerned, either written or oral. In order to corroborate the testimony of a witness, any former statement made by such witness relating to the same fact at or about the time when the fact took place or before any authority legally competent to investigate the fact may be proved. This is the section 157 if dying declaration is recorded of any person and if the person is live, is live. Then in such situation, when conducting his examination, necessary to conduct such chief examination with corroboration of his statement. Now his dying declaration is not dying declaration because he is alive. Hence, that DD, the purpose of recording that statement was of DD. But right now, so far as present situation is concerned, as the person is alive, that is his previous statement for corroboration as well as for contradiction. We know FIR for corroboration as well as for contradiction. But statement under section 161 of CRPC is only and only for contradiction. Section 9. Next section, section 9. Section 9. Facts necessary to explain or introduce relevant facts. Heading of this section. Facts necessary to explain. Facts necessary to introduce relevant facts. So relevant facts are there. It is necessary to explain relevant facts, and the facts which are necessary to explain relevant facts comes in the ambit of this section. Relevant facts are there. It is necessary to introduce those relevant facts. The facts which are necessary to introduce those relevant facts comes in the ambit of this section. This is the meaning of heading. Now, the core of this section. Facts necessary to explain or introduce a fact in issue or relevant fact. Now, friends, there are different parts of this section. Various parts mixed in this section. So first of all, we have to make the parts to understand this section. I am reading this first part. I will read one by one and I will explain. At the same time, I will expect relevant questions from you also, because in chat column I am observing. Okay, but legal questions I am expecting legal questions from you regarding maybe the relevant topic or any topic. Facts necessary to explain, facts necessary to introduce a fact in issue or relevant fact. Now, so far as core of this section, by way of this part, it is mentioned fact necessary to explain fact in issue, facts necessary to explain relevant facts, facts necessary to introduce facts in issue, facts necessary to introduce relevant facts, all such facts which are necessary to explain, which are necessary to introduce are comes in the ambit of section 9. Two words, to explain or to introduce. To explain or to introduce. Second part. Or which support or rebut an inference suggested by a fact in issue or relevant fact. For second part, two words, support and rebut. Which support? A support word is here. Necessary to go through section 6 of Indian Evidence Act for the word support. Second word is used rebut. For rebut, necessary to go through section 11 of this act. Inconsistency, just we yesterday observed section 11. Inconsistency is one of the part of section 11. To gather the facts is the part of section 6. To support it, second part of this section, section 9, which support or rebut an inference suggested by a fact in issue or relevant fact. Now see the nicety of this word. Inference suggested. An inference suggested by a fact in issue or relevant fact. So fact in issue is here, relevant fact is here, inference suggested by fact in issue or relevant fact. An inference suggested by a fact in issue or relevant fact is the base of this second part, and what this second part says, which support or rebut, either support or rebut, supporting the inference, rebutting the inference, which is suggested by a fact in issue or relevant fact. Such type of facts which they either support or rebut. Support the inference suggested, rebut the inference suggested. Inference suggested by whom? By either relevant facts or facts in issue. Please understand this connection. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fact, relevant fact, inference by facts in issue, inference by relevant fact, supporting fact to the inference, rebutting fact to the inference. Third part of this section, which establish the identity of anything or person whose identity is relevant. Whose identity is relevant. Now the word used establish. Establish the identity of anything or person whose identity is relevant. Relevant for what? Relevant for facts in issue. Whose identity is relevant for the facts in issue, the case. Identification parade, test identification parade, TIP. Why the word test is there? Test identification parade. We are using the word usually. Commonly you are using this word. Test identification parade. What is the meaning of the test? Whose test? For what purpose this test is there? The test is for the investigating agency, that they are on the right track of the investigation, the course of investigation. Hence the word test. Test identification parade. Identification parade we know, but why word test is there? That's why the word test is there. TIP, test identification parade, which establish the identity of anything or person whose identity is relevancy of identity, fixation of identity, establishing the identity of anything or person. In the course of robbery, various items are robbed, or in the course of theft, golden ornaments are stolen. In such situation, if the investigating agency feels appropriate, they may arrange test identification parade of things, stolen articles, stolen property, which comes in the ambit of section 410 of IPC. The definition of stolen property is given in section 410 of IPC. Identification of property is necessary to fix the situation of the investigation, to fix the accused for the investigation, and for that purpose test identification parade. So also, if it is necessary to identify a person accused in the course of investigation by the person who has saw him, and it is necessary to identify him because situations are there which says that proper identification is necessary. Then only test identification parade is necessary. And we know that the norms are given by Honorable Bombay High Court, by Criminal Manual, and section 54 capital A. Section 54 capital A of CRPC is for that regard. Section 54 capital A of CRPC. What this section says: identification of person arrested. Where a person is arrested on a charge of committing an offense and his identification by any other person or persons is considered necessary for the purpose of investigation of such offense, the court having jurisdiction may, on the request of the officer in charge of a police station, direct the person so arrested to subject himself to identification by any person or persons in such manner as the court may deem fit. Direction by the court to the person to be a part of the identification parade, that some person or persons wants to identify you, provided that if the person identifying the person arrested is mentally or physically disabled, such process of identification shall take place under the supervision of a judicial magistrate, who shall take appropriate steps to ensure that such person identifies the person arrested using methods that person is comfortable with. Provided further that if the person identifying the person arrested is mentally or physically disabled, the identification process shall be videographed. So this is the provision by section 54 capital A so far as identification parade is concerned. Next line of section 9. Fix the time or place at which any fact in issue or relevant fact happened. Fix a time and place. Fix a place. Just we observe illustration B of section 7. Spot Panchanama. Same situation is here. The situation is expected by section 9 also. Fix the time. Fix the place. Fixing of place by Panchanama. That where the incident happened. This is the place where the incident happened. This is the situation of the person. And then section 7, occurrence, cause, effect. At the same time, explanation is necessary of the specific spot, and for that purpose, spot Panchanama or the map by government. Fix the time or place at which any fact in issue or relevant fact happen. Fix the time. MLC, medical legal certificate. Patient came to the hospital. Patient examined by the medical officer. At what time? Approximate time of injury. These are the columns, we know it well because we are examining medical officers. Fix the time of treatment and fix the situation of injury. Type of injury. By which weapon the injury is possible. Showing of weapon to the medical officer, that whether it possible by sharp or blunt, whether this is possible by this weapon which is before the court. These are the aspects. I know that we are conducting it whenever we are conducting the cases. We are exercising this aspect. All these aspects are comes in the ambit of section 9. Fix the time or place at which any fact in issue or relevant fact happened. Next part, which shows the relation of parties by whom any such fact happened. Now, relation of parties, which shows the relation of parties, husband or wife, friends, brother, sister, brother, mother, what it may be, partner, neighbor, which shows the relation of parties by whom any such fact happened, or which shows the relation of parties by whom any such fact was transacted, are relevant insofar as they are necessary for that purpose. Are relevant insofar as they are necessary. It depends on situations, circumstances. Are relevant insofar as they are necessary for that purpose. This is section 9. We will proceed some judgments and some explanation tomorrow in relation with section 9.